there, it's Chris Younggren, and welcome to another Automotive Sales Thought of the Week. This week you're going to learn the most emotional point in the sales process. 2, how you could be killing the sale by providing too much product knowledge. And finally, what you can do to get 50% of your customers to buy on the spot. If you're psyched to learn more in this week's edition, do me a favor and support me by hitting that like button. But I'm not going to beg. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I'm one step short of begging, but hey, you don't get what you don't ask for. Okay, now back to our automotive sales thought of the week. We've all bought something based on emotion or logic alone, and we know how effective it can be at driving the purchase. However, when emotion and logic are used in combination, that's what makes the perfect persuasion situation. How, you might ask? Well, it comes down to long-term happiness. This combination not only makes them happy, it also makes them happy in the long run. And that's what's going to set you up for referrals and repeat customers down the road, giving you customers for life. Now, the emotional part's what gets the customer excited enough to want to buy the car. Logic, though, is what helps them mentally justify to pull the trigger on the purchase. A great story that illustrates the power of persuasion when you use logic and emotion in combination is the story of GI insurance being sold back in World War II. You see, back in World War II, GI insurance was being sold for the very first time. For $4 or $5 a month, a GI could buy $10,000 in life insurance. It was a terrific deal, but like anything else, it needed to be explained, and more importantly, it needed to be sold. Well, this young lieutenant that was wet behind the ears, just got out of officers training school, was there to present one day in front of the troops. Now, he had been involved in the committee that put together the insurance, so he knew everything about it. He brought a storyboard and went through every little nook and cranny, every detail. He gave handouts. He did a Q&A. He told them all the details on this program. When he got done, no one signed up. Well, he was a little bit surprised, and so he started packing up his storyboard and his handouts and those types of things, and he noticed that this sergeant was looking at him and had come over and approached him. Now, the sergeant was a 30-year military veteran. He had seen combat. He was the stereotypical sergeant with the crew cut and the square jaw. He looked the part, and he went over to the lieutenant and said this: "Sir, do you mind if I address the troops?" The lieutenant said, "Sure, go ahead." So the lieutenant got up there and went ahead and introduced the sergeant, and then the sergeant, in simple, eloquent terms, said this: "Men, here's the way I see it. You're all going to be sent overseas. Now, some of you are going to buy life insurance, and if you die overseas in combat, the government's going to send your family 10,000 big, beautiful dollars. Now, there's another combination or another set of you that are going to be sent overseas, and if you get killed in combat, the government's going to owe you nothing. Men, here's my question to you. Who do you think the government's going to send over to the front lines first? The men that can cost them $10,000 if they're killed, or the men that will cost them nothing if they're killed?" Well, everybody signed up for the insurance. You see, the sergeant knew something that the young lieutenant didn't. The young lieutenant had the product knowledge and he understood the program. However, the sergeant understood people and he understood hot buttons and emotion. He understood that fear of death was going to be a strong driver to go ahead and get them to give up their $4 or $5 a month for the life insurance policy. Now, back to the automotive purchase process. In buying a car, when done properly, the presentation and demonstration represent the guest's highest emotional point in the sale. And then you sit down then and logically with them find ways to justify the price. In fact, when it comes to the presentation and demonstration, NADA statistics say that 80% of the selling is done in the presentation and demonstration phase. And it also went on to say 50% of the guests bought on the spot when they got what they felt was a good presentation and demonstration. However, NADA also reported that 88% of the customers said they got a lousy presentation and demonstration if they got one at all. So what gives? We all know this is important, so why is it such a struggle to get a good presentation and demonstration? Well, let's find out. But first, I'd like to know this. What's the most amount of cars that one family has purchased from you? 2 or 3? Or who's got more? I think we'd all like to know. Let me offer you a couple explanations on why the guests said they got a lousy presentation. One, maybe the salesperson needed more product knowledge. They need to learn more about that particular product. They need to go get back up on their testing and get boned up on that product. The second one could be this. They just need more role play on their presentation. Their walk around skills are okay, but they just haven't practiced it enough. I mean, there's a difference between knowing something and actually being able to do something. So maybe you just need to go practice it and take action of doing that role play for the presentation. Now, I definitely would agree that top sales performers in automotive, they know their product and they've practiced their walk around skills. However, let me offer you up another reason as to why guests, when surveyed, said that 88% of the time they got a lousy presentation and demonstration, if they got one at all. And that's this. Maybe their salesperson presented too much product information. Too much product knowledge, how could that be a bad thing? Well, consider this final NADA statistic. And it states that 20% of the features and benefits are all your customer cares about. Not every single thing you know. Maybe you're bombarding this guest with just too much irrelevant information and you're losing them in the process. They're glazing over. They just don't care about all these features you're telling them about. And then not to mention, every time you show them features that they don't really care about, you're actually making the vehicle seem more expensive because they're saying to themselves, wow, there's a feature that I'm not going to use. Wow, there's another expensive looking feature that I'm not going to use. And now the vehicle seems overpriced and you wonder why they tell you the car's priced too high. Now you might be asking yourself, okay then, what's the key then to mastering the presentation and demonstration? Well, it really comes down to one word: customize. Customize the presentation and demonstration. Remember that 20% stat? The 20% that said the guest only cares about 20% of the features? Well, if they only care about 20% of the features and benefits, shouldn't those be the ones we focus on? Of course. What we're talking about here are hot button features, which are features the guest feels very emotionally strong about, things and items they feel that are must-haves on their next vehicle. Typically, these hot button features satisfies a need from one of 6 areas. They make up an acronym, SPACED. And SPACE stands for safety, performance, appearance, and styling, but the S doesn't work there, so appearance is what we put in there. C stands for comfort and convenience. E, economy, an economical vehicle. And then last one's D, dependability. They want a vehicle they can depend on. Now that you've got a foundation and a broad idea of the areas of need that the guest's interested in, spaced, you might be saying, how do I know, though, exactly which one of those hot buttons that they're interested in? Well, you could ask them. And if you want to learn more on questions to ask, go ahead and check out my video on the 3 top investigative questions to ask for needs and wants. It'll give you some ideas on the types of questions to ask and when to ask them. For now, let's just get back to space and how to use it. Let's pretend for a moment that we've discovered that our guests, Joe and Jane, they've got 3 kids. And their primary concern is safety. They're concerned about their 3 young ones' safety being in the back seats with child seats. So what we would do is customize our presentation and demonstration and gear it towards safety. The features we'd point out would be safety features, and when we pointed them out, we would use their children as examples. Let's go ahead and check out a sample feature advantage benefit of an item. We'll use child safety locks. When you get to the rear child safety locks, when you're doing your presentation, you'll simply display or demonstrate how you use the rear child safety lock and how you lock it and how you unlock it. And then you would say this: Joe, Jane, this is the rear child safety lock. The rear child safety locks, they're great because they're going to prevent your kids from being able to open the car door while the vehicle's being driven or while it's being parked. Now, it's going to help keep little Bobby, Leo, and Joy. It's going to keep them all safe while you're driving the vehicle and can't really keep your eyes completely on them. And it's also going to help because sometimes I know kids like to jump out before the vehicles come to a complete stop, especially when they're younger. So that's going to give you a lot of peace of mind and know that they're not going to be able to hop out before you can get out of the car and help them. If we want to get more guests to buy on the spot, all we need to do is follow the lead of the young lieutenant and the sergeant from our GI insurance story. By combining expert product knowledge like the young lieutenant did with his presentation and finding the emotional hot buttons like the sergeant did when he addressed the troops, you'll take your sales to the next level. Well, there you have it. Sell with emotion and justify the decision with logic. It's the perfect sales persuasion situation So you'll have customers that are happy and you'll have customers for life.